Shalom, shalom, Lord in Christ. Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai Bakatab, to all the brothers, and shalom, Yahweh Shemar Alatham, Hashem Yahweh Shai to all the sisters. We are the ISUPK under Command and General Yohana, started out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. And since 1969, we've been teaching the truth of the Bible. We want to welcome everybody to another Monday class with Officer Gadal Imad, and we're gonna go straight into it. We're gonna start with 1 Corinthians chapter 3. 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 19. Let me check, make sure we're getting good sound.
Yep, to all Israelite groups. Please. To all Israelite groups. 1 West 120.
All right, we too wild to go. Okay, 1 Corinthians, the water, sir, the water. 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 19. It says, verse 19, it says, "For the wisdom of this world is foolishness with God, for it is written, He taketh the wise in their own craftiness." Right, there's a lot of alleged wisdom, right, that we're getting, especially now with the we have like the boom of knowledge and information via the internet and chat GPT, and we're just connected, all across the board with everything and everyone, and we get bombarded with a whole bunch of posts from different people, different institutions, different ways of thinking, different philosophies, right? And it's just everywhere. They're on billboards, on our children's phones, our devices, right? Different ideas of how we are to be, right? And then we're sold we're sold the idea of basically doing what we want to do, right? There's no inherent right or wrong. You can just do whatever you want to do, right? That's one of the notions that is what's the word, that is dominant, right? Or it's pretty I'm not sure the word, right, but it's in the minds of a lot of our people. Just do what you want to do. There's no actual right and wrong, right? We're faced with a lot of quote unquote wisdom. You see a lot of posts on Facebook about like philosophical posts. Everybody think they know, they know something, right? But the scriptures tells us, verse 19, it says the wisdom of the world is foolishness with God, right? When it talks about the wisdom of the world, growing up, and being influenced or being taught, by pastors in the Christian church, or priests in the Catholic Church, we're given different notions or different ideas, of what the world is. And come to find out that there is no difference in what the world teaches you and what the Christian church would teach you, or what the Catholic Church would teach you. Right? We were raised, in quote unquote the world, right, in the street, doing what we learned to do, being amongst the homeboys, or being amongst, our peers, and we did what we did. We did what we did to survive, and a lot of us, seeing the madness that's in our society, in the place where we're raised, where we grow up, in the schools, and in the place of work. A lot of us see the evil, see the wickedness, and so we set out to seek, to do the right thing, and we fell into what the only thing that was available, right? What our parents taught us, showing us the Bible and pointing us towards the Catholic Church, or showing us the Bible and us going after what was taught to us from since we were kids, going to the Christian church and the ideologies of the Christian church and the Catholic Church. And coming to find out that even we're leaving a world where there's, right, to make us a plane, where there's drugs and guns and murder, and right, and we leave to a place like the Christian church, and only to find out that even in these places, in these institutions, you have just like a different flavor of wickedness. You know, we see a lot of the adultery, you know, in the Christian church. We see a lot of the homosexuality in the Christian church. You know, the allowing of gay people and you know and to be head of departments in the church. And so we go into these places and we see, as men, we see this wickedness and we're like, it's no different than where we came from. It's no different. You know, we're seeing the same thing, just a different flavor, right? And so that we're getting a glimpse of the wisdom of the world, right? We learn things from people growing up, you know, in the hood, from looking up to men that seem to be successful. In the same way in the Christian church, we're looking up to the pastors. We're looking up to men who appear to be wise, you know. But the Bible, once we understand it in truth, that the wisdom that these people claim to have is actually foolishness. What did the scripture say? It says, for the wisdom of this world is foolishness with God. It says, for it is written, he taketh the wise in their own craftiness. And again, verse 20, the Lord knoweth the thoughts of the wise, that they are vain. And I can't stress enough how important it is, you know, and I continually express gratitude, right, to the priests and prophets in the ISUPK, you know, because up until then, right, we didn't have actual men who in truth stood up for our people, in truth stood up for what was actually right and correct. You know, before the ISUPK, we didn't have a true standard of righteousness, right? We didn't find it in the successful men in the hood, you know, men who were quick to, you know, set you up and take what you got, men who are quick to, you know, commit adultery with your wife. You know, it's the same spirit, no different in the Christian church. That's the kind of men that you find in those places. You know, because the wisdom that they have is not is foolishness. Right? Let's go. Let's continue to the same book, chapter 1, and in verse 19. And we got it in the chat. We got Yashuan, we got Lahab, Officer Kagawar, Shalom, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah. Welcome to the class. Welcome to the class. Checking in from Mansfield. Shalom, that's what's up, Ak. Welcome to the class. Okay, so let's continue. Same book, chapter 1, and in verse 19. It says, for it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, and will bring to nothing the understanding of the prudent. It says, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise. Right? And all praises to the Most High, right, for this truth here in the ISUPK. Right? The home of the truth. You're not gonna find this truth nowhere else. not even in these other fake Israelite groups. Uh, the it says it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise. Right? I mean, I kind of understand it, but how are our people, right? Because all the other people, they could continue doing what they ideologies and do what they want to do, right? But us as blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? I, at this point in time, at this point in history, right? We shouldn't even be nowhere near uh, the Catholic Church or the Christian Church, right? The foolishness of the world, it's in these places. Like the foolishness that you get from these people who quote unquote speaking in tongues. You know, I don't see how our people are still in these places, in these churches. You know, the cat is out the bag. There is no truth in these places. Right? All you see in these places is foolishness, wickedness, acts of wicked men uh, doing the things that I've aforementioned: child molestation, abortions, adultery, and they condone all these things. They condone it, and it's just perpetual. And yet people are still sitting in these pews as if there's some kind of heavenly wisdom. Right? There is no sound wisdom in these places. Right? It verse 19, it says, it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise. Every man and woman, and even the children here in the ISUPK, we understand that the wisdom of the drug dealer in the street, destroyed. The wisdom of these pastors in the churches, man, is destroyed. We're not following you no more. We're not heeding to white Jesus. We're not heeding to Caesar Borgia. We're not heeding to people out there talking about getting the bag. We're not heeding to these things. Right? We're following the true righteousness, right, of the ISUPK and the Commander General Yohana. We're following the true Christ, the true Yahweh Shai, the black man from the tribe of Judah. Right? All these fake notions and notions of false wisdom, it's destroyed. Right? The cat's out the bag. Let's keep reading. It says, and will bring to nothing the understanding of the prudent. Right? When you come into the conclusion, when you come to the conclusion of following the truth Christ, right here in the ISUPK, you have everything that you've understood and learned, whether it be in the hood and then you got street knowledge, or whether it be in the colleges that you come from, or the religious institutions you come from. Man, you gotta throw that out, all that out the window. You gotta consider it as nothing, and come and sit down, and all black, for all you black men, Hispanic men, Native American men, sit down in all black, and have to be washed and have to be retaught. Same for you sisters, you have to come in and sit down and learn how to be quiet, learn how to be modest, learn how to put your head covering on. to understand what it means to have your head covered. Right? You have to consider the alleged wisdom that you have as nothing. I'm gonna read it again. It says, "And will bring to nothing the understanding of the prudent." Right? That's what we're doing here in the ISUPK. Right? We have the I'm not sure the term, right? When you got like different names for something, right? Like for example, we're known as the Kemet killers, right? Because all that alleged wisdom, all that alleged Kemet wisdom, we bringing it to nothing, right? It's being destroyed by the priests and prophets of the Lord here in the ISUPK, and along with any other ideology, any other notions that you may have that you think have weight or have substance, it crumbles at the face of the priests and prophets here in the ISUPK. Right? It says, "It is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise and will bring to nothing the understanding of the prudent." Right? Let's keep reading. Verse 20. "Where is the wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the disputer of this world? Hath not God made foolish the wisdom of the world? Where is the wise? Where is the scribe?" That's one of the reasons why we that teach this truth, we tend to get shunned by the wise and the scribes of the world. Right? The people who the world considers to be wise and have doctorate degrees and politicians and your priests and your pastors. Instead of acknowledging, right, was being proclamated here in the ISUPK, it's like they run from being examined by the truth, right? Because the truth is like a light. The scripture says that the truth is a light, and the light exposes the darkness. It exposes the darkness. So a lot of men that are in high status, they don't want to be exposed. They don't want to be exposed, and they don't want to face the truth. They don't want to face the real priests and prophets of the Most High. Right? It says, "Where is the wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the disputer of this world?" Every man that has made an attempt to go up against the priests and the prophets of the Lord have come to nothing, have been destroyed. Right? And yet we still want to continue in the Pentecostal church. We still want to continue taking part in fraternities and things in this society, in this world. Right? There's a reason behind that. It says, "Hath not God made foolish the wisdom of this world?" Verse 21, "For after that, in the wisdom of God, the world by wisdom knew not God." You can't know God outside of the truth. You can't know God outside of the ISUPK. You can't know if your mind is infested with the wisdom of the world. You can't know God. You can't know God. It says, "For after that, in the wisdom of God, the world by wisdom knew not God. It pleased God by the foolishness of preaching to save them that believe." Right. So we're going from a a foolish state of mind, thinking that we have wisdom, right? Uh, to being born again, and even still being foolish, right? We have to become foolish in order to stop being foolish, right? Forsaking the foolishness of the world and become foolish in order to follow the Most High, in order to walk in the truth. Because when when you begin to actually follow Christ in spirit and in truth, we become foolish. We become foolish to the world. We be labeled, oh, you in the cold. Like, man, Ricardo, he don't sell dope no more. He got religion, or and they label you as a fool. When before, when you were hustling, when you were doing this, everybody in the hood, allegedly respected you. But then when you actually begin to follow after righteousness, they consider you a fool, like you fell off, or like you, right. But to walk in righteousness and follow after Christ and obey the Most High, you have to become a fool. You have to become a fool. Let's keep reading. Let's go to the second chapter, and in verse 6. It says, "Howbeit we speak wisdom among them that are perfect." Right? We speak wisdom among them that are perfect. Those that want to be perfected and want to walk in righteousness, right? Then you will actually begin to understand the wisdom that we teach. Because outside of that, you can't understand it, right? Your desires and your will is getting in the way of you understanding, right, the wisdom of God. 1 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 7. Salakia, verse 6. "Howbeit we speak wisdom among them that are perfect, yet not the wisdom of this world, nor of the princes of this world that come to naught." Right? The wisdom of this world, it is, in a nutshell, everything that it propels everything that I just aforementioned. The things that our people, that we have accepted as good, right? Being a drug dealer, being a murderer, right? We get stripes, right, for moving weight, or we get stripes for having bodies and going to the penitentiary, right? We have accepted homosexuality. We have accepted the lifestyle of adultery and fornication, right? We've accepted these things. It says, "The wisdom of the world, nor of the we speak wisdom among them that are perfect, yet not the wisdom of this world, nor of the princes of this world that come to naught. But we speak the wisdom of God in a mystery, even the hidden wisdom, which God ordained before the world unto our glory, which none of the princes of this world knew. For had they known it, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory." right? The wisdom of the world is gonna uh, make you think that these things are correct, right? And it's gonna make you speak against, right, the priests and prophets of the Lord, who is actually speaking the true wisdom of the Most High. To understand this truth, to understand who we are as a people, to understand that that we are God's chosen people, and we are to separate uh, from the wicked, to separate from these other nations. Right? Let's keep reading. Verse verse 9, it says, "But as it is written, I have not seen nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man the things which God hath prepared for them that love him." Right? The things that the Most High has prepared, right? He prepared this beforehand. Right? This is what the Lord is doing. What the Lord has prepared. Right? It says that I had not seen nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man the things which God hath prepared. Right? That's why it's difficult for the Christian church, the Catholic Church, the pastors, the people, their followers, people in the world to understand what the Most High has done, to understand that God's chosen people, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, are the true children of Israel. Right? They can't see it. They can't understand it. They say, "Oh no, you're not Israel," or they'll say all kinds of things contrary against the truth. Again, recalling being amongst the Christians, and me pointing out that when I read the scriptures, that it's telling me that it's only for Israel, and then they say, "Well, no, God is not dealing with Israel no more. He's extending it to the Gentiles, and you're a Gentile." Right? They can't see and understand the truth. They can't see and understand that we are no longer Gentiles, right, being tossed to and fro, but that now we have the truth of the scriptures, right? And that's that you as Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, us as Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right, we are the true children of Israel. That Christ is a black man from the tribe of Judah, right? That is the sound foundation of the wisdom of the Most High, of what the Most High has prepared beforehand. Where is that in verse? Verse 9. It says, "I have not seen nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man the things which God hath prepared for them that love Him." Right? If you want to love the Most High in spirit and in truth, right? Don't follow what the pastor teaches you. Don't follow what the quote unquote wise person from the hood will tell you. Right? They swear up and down they love God with a Jesus piece, be out in the street destroying our people, and yet still claim that they have love for God. Right? If you want to love the Most High, you have to return to our God and obey and keep these laws, statutes, and commandments. Right? And part of those commandments is to keep the feast days that the Lord prescribed for us to keep, and to come gather with your people. Right? And that's right here in the ISUPK under Commander General Yana, to come and keep the Feast of Trumpets that's coming up here in September. To keep the Feast of Passover, to keep the Feast of Harvest, to keep the Sabbath day and gather with your people. Right? It's not something optional. And like in the world, in the wisdom of the world, you would invite people to parties, a birthday or things like that, and it was optional, right? If you wanted to go, and then you would say things like, "Well, I'm not going because so and so is going to be there." Right? The command of the Lord does away with all that. The command of the Lord, and that's what one of the main things that the scriptures teach and we teach here in the ISUPK is true brotherhood. You're not gonna run away from loving your brother, from seeking to mend certain issues between a brother or a sister. Right? We're not gonna say, "Oh, I'm not going to the Passover because so and so ain't gonna be there." We're not saying that. We're gonna go. We're gonna show up to the Passover, and if there's an issue, we're gonna hash it out and we're gonna forgive one another. We're gonna figure out a solution, that is not gonna get in the way of us coming together. Whether it be for the Sabbath every Saturday, or whether it be for the high holy days, the Passover and whatnot, we're gonna come together. Right? We're not gonna be like the hypocrites in your Christian church, or the hypocrites in amongst your family members. You be throwing different dual birthday parties. One birthday party for this side of the family, another birthday party for the other side of the family, just because they can't come together. Just because you have hatred amongst one another. That is the commandment of the Most High, for us to come together, for us to walk after the wisdom of the Most High, and learning, knowing how to forgive one another, knowing how to be a brother to one another. Right? We're going to keep reading. Verse 10. It says, "But God hath revealed them unto us by his Spirit. For the Spirit searcheth all things, the deep things of God." We understand this truth. We understand this, and that's why we do what we do every day. We do what we do every day because we've learned how to love the Most High, and we want to love the Most High. We want to love His people. That's why we do what we do. Verse 11, it says, "For what man knoweth the things of a man, save the spirit of man which is in him? Even so the things of God knoweth no man but the Spirit of God." It says, verse 12, "Now we have received not the spirit of the world, but the Spirit which is of God, that we might know the things that are freely given to us of God." Verse 13, which things also we speak, not in the words which man's wisdom teacheth, but which the Holy Ghost teacheth, comparing spiritual things with spiritual things. See, the wisdom of the world will teach you that. The wisdom of the world is teaching you division. It's teaching you separation. It's teaching you to cut your people off. It's teaching our women that they don't need a man. It's teaching our men that, we could do it all our own. The Most High and the wisdom of God is for us as blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans to come together. To come together and to learn how to forgive one another. Because there's a lot that we need to forgive. There's a lot that we need to be forgiven for. And that's where we need to begin. You know what I'm saying? We need to begin to forgive, our people. Whatever notions and ideas that we got from the wisdom of the world. Mexicans are just drug dealers. Mexicans are just drunkards or whatever. Oh, but the wisdom of the Most High, the wisdom of God, I tell you, man, Mexicans are from the tribe of Issachar. Mexicans are the chosen people of God. Man, it changes your whole outlook on how you deal with a Mexican. You know, now when I'm at the slave or wherever I'm at when I'm going, and I deal with a Issachar brother or a Judite brother, you know, I no longer call them. We've learned like growing up, we call each other cuz or cousin. We say, "What's up, cuz? What's up, cousin? ¿Qué onda, primo?" Right? That's how we would address each other. But now when I look at a Mexican or when I look at, you know what I'm saying, a black man, you know, I address him as brother. I said, ¿Qué onda, carnal? What's up? What's up, bro? But it has a whole totally different meaning to it, you know, because you understanding, you know, that they are your people. You know, he might not be from my immediate, you know, brother from my mother or whatnot. But it could be a Mexican that I don't even know. ¿Qué onda, carnal? And I deal with them as such. They no longer a stranger. You know, and if the opportunity arises, you know, I I'm focused on lacing them up with this truth that he may also understand, that he may also forsake the wisdom of the world that has us calling us uh, other other things other than what we really are, which is brothers, family, right? Let's keep reading. Verse 14. It says, "But the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God." A natural man in the world, like, he's not gonna look at you uh, like a brother. He's gonna look at you like a threat. He's gonna look at you like, you know, a stranger. What was it? Verse 14. "The natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him." Right? For forgiving, you know what I'm saying, your brother, it's foolishness to them. They don't they're nowhere near being close to the idea of forgiving. Right? It says, "For they are foolishness unto him, neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned." Let's go to the book of James. James chapter 3. We got Officer Ma'aiwa. Shalom, sir. Yahweh Bashem Yahshua. Welcome to the class. And then we got we got Matamya. Shalom, Karnal. Yahweh Bashem Yahshua. Welcome to the class. Reportándose desde San Jose, California. Shalom, carnal. Saludos. So James chapter 3 and verse 13 says, "Every man's work." Oh, Salaka, this is the wrong. I'm still in Corinthians. James. James chapter 3, starting in verse 3. It says, "Behold, we put..." Oh, Salakia, verse 13. James chapter 3 and verse 13. "Who is a wise man and endued with knowledge among you? Let him show out of a good conversation his works with meekness of wisdom." Let him show out of a good conversation his work with meekness of wisdom. Right? Forsaking the wisdom of the world and following after Christ, following after Yahweh, seeking the wisdom that of the Lord. Right? It says, "Who is wise and endowed with knowledge among you? Let him show out of good conversation his works with meekness of wisdom." One of the things about understanding the wisdom of the Lord is the work, right, that comes with it, right? The responsibility that comes with it, right? It says, "Let him show out of a good conversation his works." Right? We come here every day and to do right the work of the Lord, which is to what I had previously mentioned, right? Forgiving our brothers, forgiving our people, right? Coming together with our people, right? In order to in order to uh, in order to make that happen, in order to it has to be uh, built. There has to be work done. There has to be work done in in loving our people. There has to be work done in bringing our people together and forgiving one another. Right? It's work. You know, we don't do this because it's a piece of cake. Right? We do it because we actually understand the wisdom of God. We understand uh, that we are to love the Most High and to love our people. Right? So we have to uh, do the work, right? And do the work with meekness of wisdom. With that wisdom, it comes meekness. You know, you can't come in here and say, you know, you want to love the Most High and love your people and serve the Most High, you know, and do it without meekness. You know, you have to come with meekness. For example, a lot of the people that attempt to address the ISUPK, you know, a lot of people do it with unmeekness. You know, you see a lot of, for example, a lot of the quote unquote debates online, and a lot of people that call, even a lot of people that leave messages in the chat. You know, they don't come with meekness. They don't come to actually learn this truth, but on the contrary, they come to mock the priests and prophets of the Lord. Right? So when in sincerity you coming to serve the Most High, right, you got to come with meekness and address the Lord with meekness. It says, "Let him show out of the good conversation his works with meekness of wisdom." Right? You got to consider your brother. Uh, you got to consider your brother or your sister more than you. Right? It's a scripture that says, I can't remember where it's at, where it says, let everyone consider one another uh, above or more, something like that. I can't remember how it go. Right? But it's the spirit of dealing with your brother and with your sister, with that spirit of wisdom, of that's weakness of wisdom. It says, "Let him show out of a good conversation his works with meekness of wisdom." But if ye have bitter envying and strife in your hearts, glory not and lie not against the truth. This wisdom descendeth not from above, but is earthly, sensual, devilish, For where envy and strife is, there is confusion in every evil work. That is precisely what I was saying earlier when we leave the streets and go out to seek righteousness in what we have been taught, and we go into the establishments, the churches, and the Catholic Church, Christian Church, and we see precisely this: the envying, the strife. It says this wisdom descended not from above, but is earthly, sensual, and devilish. It's sensual, right? Meaning everyone is sensitive. Everyone is easily offended. Everyone, will smile at you in person, but inside they have all this negative energy towards you, right? It says, for where envying and strife is, there is confusion in every evil work. Right? There's all manner of evil work being done that has been exposed. That has been exposed in these places, and yet our people are still as stubborn being in these places, But again, the word of the Lord is faithful, and the word of the Lord is coming to pass, right? And as we read earlier, these things are being brought to nothing, right? TD Jakes has been brought to nothing. All these pastors in these Christian churches and the wisdom that they alleged have is being brought to nothing by the priests and prophets of the ISUPK and the Commander General Yohana. Right, let's continue reading. It says, the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. You want to learn, what's being taught. You got questions, what I'm saying? You got to come, with meekness. You got to come with a pure heart. You got to come peaceable and gentle. Right? You got to come humbly before the Most High. You can't come with a haughty spirit. You can't come, thinking you something or somebody. You can't come thinking that you know some type of philosophy or some type of wisdom. You got to come and leave all that in the dumpster outside, and come in and sit down and be quiet, right? And with meekness and gentleness, ask your questions. With meekness and gentleness, and a pure heart, which is the most important thing. To begin to grow in this truth, to begin to understand more and more. It says, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. Let's go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 55. And in verse 8. Isaiah 58 and verse 50. Isaiah 55 and verse 8. It says, let's go back to verse 6. Let me read a few verses back. It says, seek ye the Lord while he may be found. Call ye upon him while he is near. Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts. And let him return unto the Lord, and he will have mercy upon him. And to our God, for he will abundantly pardon. Right, that's the forgiveness that we so need as Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. right? That the Most High have mercy on our people and forgive our people, that we may come to the knowledge of the truth, that we may understand, right, this wisdom, right, that is being proclamated by the priests and prophets, by the true priests and prophets. Verse 8, it says, for my thoughts are not your thoughts. We just read in verse 7, it says, the unrighteous man, it said, let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts. Right? We have to forsake, again, these philosophies and these notions and ideas that we've picked up along the way growing up, and count them as nothing. Right? Count them as nothing. It says, and he will have mercy upon him, and he will abundantly pardon. Right? The Most High will forgive us, for this ignorance. The Most High will forgive us, for having strayed away, and adopted the philosophies and the understanding and the wisdom, of a devilish people. Right? And we'll begin to walk in the wisdom of God. It says, verse 8, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways. Right? The ways of the Lord, Yahweh Shai exemplified that. And the Christian church will tell you that we can't be like Christ. We can't be perfect. Contradicting the literal words of Christ, that the command of Christ when he commands us to be perfect like our Father in heaven is perfect. Right? When we begin to follow men, like Commanding General Yohana, the generals, the captains, here in the ISUPK. Right? It says, saith the Lord. Verse 9. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. But instead, we want to continue, because of our wicked desires and our lust, we want to stay in the lowest part. We want to stay in the dirt. We want to stay in the earth. We want to stay in the filth. Right? We want to stay in a state of destruction instead of being raised up, instead of being elevated. The way the Most High intended. It says, for as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways. Right? The Lord is raising up his people. The Lord is raising up blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Right? And if you are so-called black, Hispanic, or Native American, it's time for you to gather with your people and be raised up with them. Don't be left behind in the dirt and at the bottom of the earth. Right? Let's go to Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy chapter 4. Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 6. Let's go back a few scriptures. Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 4, it says, but ye that did cleave unto the Lord your God are alive, every one of you this day. Verse 5, behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whether ye go to possess it. Verse 6, keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. Right? We're forsaking, right, the wisdom of the world. We're forsaking the ways of the world. We're forsaking all the notions and the ideologies that we've learned and were taught, by evil, wicked men. Ideologies that were taught by us by these devilish people, right? These devils, and then our people, the pastors and of our people, the Catholic priests of our people, right? The drug dealers in the hood of our people, the devilish, the right, the devilish ways that they learn from these damn devils, right? But our wisdom, not the wisdom of the world, right? Our wisdom, right? The scripture says that in verse 6, this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations. Right? Our wisdom is these laws, statutes, and commandments. Right? Keeping these feast days. This is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this is a great nation. This great nation is a wise and understanding people. Verse 7. It says, for what nation is there so great who hath God so nigh unto them? Right? Our God is literally just that. Is our God. Right? He's not the God of any other people. Right? It says, for which nation is there so great who hath God so nigh unto them? As the Lord our God is in all things that we call upon him for. Verse 8. And what nation is there so great that hath statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law which I set before you this day? Right? This law is and now it's clear, and now it's so clear why everywhere that we went, we were taught not to keep the law. The men that we esteem growing up, you don't got to keep the law. Forget the law. You will hear them say, I'm not keeping no law. We outlaws, right? Putting these notions in our minds since we were young, and so now we don't observe no law, let alone to come and begin to observe our law and begin to observe the law that the Most High gave to us. Right? It's clear why we were taught to follow the Christian church or the Catholic church, because they instruct us to not keep the law. But now that we understand, we are to return to our laws, our statutes, and commandments, which is our strength. Let's go to the few chapters up, chapter 18 and verse 9. It says, when thou art come into the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not learn to do after the abomination of those nations. Verse 10. There shall not be found among you anyone that make his son or his daughter pass through the fire, or that uses divination, or observe of times, or an enchanter, or a witch. Right? That's exactly what we find ourselves doing nowadays. It's different terms, but we're heeding to these alleged gurus or people who claim to have knowledge, and we're following after these people, and we might not necessarily show like true devotion, but we're accepting the ideologies. We're taking a little bit from here and a little bit from there, and at the end of the day, we're just really end up confused, thinking we know something, but we don't know anything. Right? It says, when thou art come into the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not learn to do after the abominations of those nations. Right? That emphasizes the importance of us coming back to our law, to what our forefathers are teaching us through these scriptures and through the priests and prophets here in the ISUPK. And forsake these other nations. All right, let's go to the book of Psalms. Psalms 119. Psalms 119 and in verse 142. It says, thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. Right? The law of the Most High, right, it is the truth, and it's the righteousness that we are to aspire to exemplify. Right? Not what this flamboyant or articulate speaker on social media says, or quotes from devils, quotes from, a wicked people, but simply what the Most High is giving us right here. Like what we've read, for example, let's go to the book of Proverbs chapter 4. Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 11. Go back one verse, verse 10. It says, hear, O my son, and receive my sayings. Right? Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? Hear, what we are saying here in the ISUPK. It says, and the years of thy life shall be many. Verse 11, I have taught thee in the way of wisdom. I have led thee in right paths. Right? The way of wisdom. When you're born into this world, right, you're going to walk in one of two ways. The way of wisdom of the Most High, or the way of wisdom of the world. The way of the wisdom of the world, is going to bring destruction. But the ways of the wisdom of the Most High, right? What did it say in verse 10? The years of thy life shall be many. Right? Let's go to the book of let's jump down to the book of Baruch for time's sake. Baruch chapter 3. Baruch chapter 3 and let's start in verse 9. It says, hear, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Right? It says, hear, Israel, the commandments of life. Give ear to understand wisdom. Verse 10. How happeneth it, Israel, that thou art in thine enemy's land, that thou art waxing old in a strange country, that thou art defiled with the dead. Verse 11, that thou art counted with them that go down into the grave. Verse 12, that thou hast forsaken the fountain of wisdom. Verse 13, for if thou hast walked in the way of God, thou shouldest have dwelt in peace forever. Verse 14, learn, where is wisdom? It ain't with the successful drug dealer in the street. It ain't with the successful pastor with a stadium of 10,000 members. Right? It says, learn, where is wisdom? Where is strength? Where is understanding? Right? It's right here in the ISUPK under Commanding General Yohanan. It says, that thou mayest know also where is length of days and life, where is the light of the eyes and peace. Right? The light of the eyes. Right? That's the understanding that you can't get unless you come and sit down and get in all black. That you can't get unless you come sit down and with your head covered for you sisters. You can't get it. And peace. Verse 15. Who hath found out her place? Or who hath come into her treasures? Right? Lord of Christ. Now let's go to the next chapter, same book, in verse 4. It says, this is the book of the commandments of God, and the law that endureth forever. All they that keep it shall come to life, but such as leave it shall die. And with that, we're going to go ahead and conclude the class. I'm going to read the security announcements. We are the ISUPK that started out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. These are the rules for new brothers and sisters. It says when a new brother or sister arrives at the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They should only be greeted. They are here to cleanse themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister is interested in someone in particular, they must get permission from the head to speak with that brother or sister. There will be another 6 months during which the brother and sister will court. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will obtain permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment, Numbers 18:21 and Malachi 3:8 through 10 through verse 10. And tithes means tenth in Hebrew, ma'asharah, and it's 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. And give to General Mayakala, or the teacher. The priest fund is a voluntary offering for the priest, not mandatory. Any amount you wish during next convocations. Announce the holy convocation from the sheep. It says, Salakia. The next feast day is September the 11th. Next month, on September the 11th, the Feast of Trumpets. And last but not least, is if anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, start dressing in all black boots, black shirts, black pants, headband or scarf. And with that, we want to give a salute to the men of Israel, Amajim Shabbat, Amajim, Barak, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah, Barakatah. And then we want to give a courtesy salute to the sisters, men of Israel, Amajim Shabbat, Barak,
Yahweh Shamar
Yahweh Shamar Alatham by Hashem Yahweh Shah. Class dismissed.